The problem is that MAS would not tell you why you are given a license or not. I see two reasons for us being among the first. The first reason is that we have a business model. Second thing is I believe there's a bit of credibility coming from us.
This morning I had a very interesting conversation with Eric Barbier, the founder of AAA. AAA and Eric Barbier are very interesting to me for two very important reasons. Firstly, it was the first company that secured a crypto payments license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore under the new Payment Services Act in Singapore. And secondly, I wanted to learn from someone like Eric with his extensive experience in payments over several generations of the industry, from the days of the microchip to the time when payments was on a telco airtime to what the banks were doing, and now into crypto. Someone like Eric has an instinct for this industry that the rest of us can draw from. So let's get right into the conversation. Eric Barbier, good morning to you. Where are you today?
Good morning. I'm in Singapore.
Singapore, that's wonderful. I'm in sunny Beijing. Both of us woke up this morning after the congressional hearing in the US on cryptocurrencies and how to regulate that. There are many things that I want to be able to speak to you with today. Of course, about the exciting news about AAA getting a payments license, a crypto payments license in Singapore. But also, perhaps more importantly, I want to draw from you, Eric, because your own pedigree, your experience as a payments man, as a telco man, as a crypto man now, there's a lot to draw from what you see when all of the news was being put out on the congressional hearing. This is the first time the United States Congress has started to wrap its mind around how to legislate cryptocurrencies and even how to define it. What did you make of it?
So what's great is that for the first time, Congress is really taking it seriously, and I think they're seeing that there's so much traction on the crypto side that it's really now the right time to find the right way to regulate that. And so to me, that's a great news because so far there were at least no federal regulation and just a couple of states having specific regulation and which was not really complete and so on. There's the famous bit license in New York, which is a bit complex and not ideal, and then for most of the states there's nothing. So having regulation at federal level would be a big game changer, in my opinion, for crypto. And I'm making the analogy to Singapore. Singapore has had been really leading the way in terms of developed country, in terms of having proper regulation framework for crypto, and that's great that it's something which would move into the US, and I think Europe as well is working on it.
What's interesting about Singapore is that what seems to be regulation appears to be a tentative framework waiting for leadership from the US. One of the interesting parts of the discussion last night, or rather yesterday in the US, was the definition of crypto. Is that a security, an asset, or a currency? How would you characterize crypto?
For me, it's obvious it's a currency at this stage, and the primary use case of crypto is to enable payment transactions. So it is, in my opinion, a currency.
That's because you are a payments man yourself. So you built payment gateways of many kinds before in the past. One other comment that came out very strongly was that the USD stable coin is the US CBDC as you were, central bank digital currency as it were. What is your thoughts on that? The idea that a stable coin is a CBDC.
If a stable coin is issued by a regulated entity in the US, so it's as good as having a CBDC. So and frankly, I don't believe that central banks are going to really issue digital currency. At least, I mean, like the Federal Reserve or the central bank. So there's already stable coins. We obviously need stable coins which are better regulated.
The US dollar is the currency in circulation worldwide. It's created a whole structure of global economy around itself. And so now creating the digital version of that is to continue the dominance of the dollar, right? And the ability of the US government to continue issuing debt. Is there something that can happen to give multiple currencies the ability to play in the digital space?
That was exactly my point, is that if you look at the stablecoin market today, dominance of the USD is probably like 99%. While in the real world, euro has probably a 10, 20, at least a 20% market share in international trade. So clearly there's a misalignment here. And that's for me, that's a very
understand.
It's very risky to the euro.
In fact, there is an attempt at creating a Singapore stable coin. What went wrong with that attempt?
Yeah, I'm not saying things are not working. It will take a time. I think we haven't seen all the use case for it. The Singapore dollar is probably not, is currently not a huge currency which is used for trading globally. But my understanding from MAS and other players in the market is really to provide the right ecosystem. One of the things which is missing is like having merchants to accept cryptocurrency and in particular stable coins. And so that's the whole chicken and egg thing, is why would I use it if I cannot spend it? And that's part of what AAA is trying to do, is to enable merchants, businesses to accept crypto payments.
That brings me to you as an entrepreneur, as someone who is highly experienced in all forms of payment platforms and so on, at the telco end and as well also at the banking end. In terms of the first principles of payments that is applicable both to crypto as well as to traditional payments, what would you define as being the most important operating principle?
Compliance with the law, so being under regulation. So really being able to know what is the underlying transaction, having proper KYC on both ends of the system. That's been my approach, whether in AAA or in transfer to tunes in the past, is really to make sure that we have the right framework first in order to securely and in a compliant manner be able to transfer. Compared to lending from business, it's like in payment, your liability is unlimited. One single transaction from a bad actor, and your whole business is at risk.
So you've identified the KYC part, the compliance part, the regulated part of payments. That's the part that you need to get right in order to succeed in any form of payments. That's what you're saying. But there's the other side of it, which is the technology. Isn't payment technology basically a transfer of an information from one end to the other?
On paper, yes. If you look at this, at the end of the day, it's just plumbing between banks, financial institutions, and everything. One of the issues, for instance, of cryptocurrency, and that's one of the issues we're solving, is like it is not fully real time. So when you're going to you're buying a pair of shoes online, you can't wait like 10, 20 minutes for the payment to complete. You're expecting a near instant user experience. So that's one of the things we've been doing by deeply integrating into the blockchain, so that we're able to tell the merchant in a couple of seconds that the payment is good and that he can ship the goods or services. So that's an example where technology is absolutely key. All those transactional systems, they have to support tons of transaction happening. Because to give you an example, we're processing payment as low as $1, for instance, in Salvador, as we're working with Digicel, which is the mobile operator in Salvador, and people are paying like $1 or even less top-ups to buy their prepaid mobile phone. While on the other hand, we're processing transaction which maybe a $5,000 from an accounting firm in Dubai, which will be paid in USDT, for instance.
I'm constructing this conversation very carefully because I want to take the first principles on payments and then apply it to your business in crypto payments. Now, just taking the technology side one step further, you are the founder of Transfer2, right? Here's another very interesting point, which is that one of the problems that crypto players had in payments was that they couldn't exchange their fiat currencies into crypto until recently, because many countries' banks were afraid, and now banks are all getting into the space. And so even as you got your first license in Singapore, as you got the first license in Singapore, the rules are changing very rapidly. The rules of the game, the number of players entering, and so on. So when you think about Transfer2, it's a cross-border multi-currency payment platform. How does that compare to what the respective countries are doing in integrating? Like in Singapore, you have Pay Now integrating with Thailand and so on. Are these complementary? Are these competitive?
Yeah, so Transfer2 business is still doing very well. It's now been rebranded as Tunes. And when I started the company back then, the idea was really to use mobile phone as the way to send money. And really my focus was really on emerging market. So Transfer2 is today the largest network connected to mobile wallets. And most of the mobile wallets tends to be in more of an emerging market, like Paytm in India, bKash in Bangladesh, M-PESA, the famous M-PESA in Kenya. So the goal of Tunes is to interconnect financial institutions, usually from the developed country, i.e., for instance, PayPal, and helping them to send or receive money from mobile wallets in emerging countries. So one of the most iconic deal Tunes is operating is the interconnection between PayPal and M-PESA, and M-PESA and PayPal. So that enabled millions of Kenyans, for instance, to be able to purchase off the internet from the tens of millions of merchants from PayPal. It's true that this can become a competition, but it's going to take a long time to happen, and it's probably not going to happen globally.
Right. But the interesting thing about Tunes is that it's cross-border, it's not platform dependent, and on both sides of the transaction, you do not need to have a bank in there.
At the end of the day, you still need to settle through banks, but it's true is that, for instance, in Singapore, the Dash is one of the clients. So enabling, for instance, a Filipino working in Singapore, she will be able to put money into a Singtel Dash account, and then in real time transfer the money to a GCash mobile wallet
in Philippines.
In the Philippines. And this is real time, and it's wallet to wallet. The end user don't need to hold a formal bank account, but it's essentially e-money.
Yeah, I'm asking you that question because many regulators not many, there are regulators who are taking this bank-centric approach where on both sides of a transaction, there has to be a bank, and they actually mandate that rather than leaving it open-ended, because the technology allows for wallet-to-wallet transfers, right? So that already exists in the way that you've described it. As a telco man, what could telcos be doing to be a important player in the payment space now that regulators are trying to push it back to becoming more bank centric?
So I think the whole idea for a telco to become a digital bank is a great idea. There are a lot of similarities between the two businesses. Highly transactional, trust is key, and you need to have scale, so a very large user base. So I was talking about Singtel, which had the Dash e-wallet, which is doing extremely well for remittances. And they got the digital bank license issued in Singapore together with Grab. I can give you another example. I'm sitting on the board of STC Pay, of STC in Saudi Arabia, which is the largest mobile operator there. And once again, they started with an e-wallet and they are now upgrading to a full bank license. And using again the use case of remittances, because Saudi Arabia is a very big importer of workforce. So there's a huge remittance corridor to South Asia in particular, and so they have millions of users in the country, and obviously in really emerging markets. Like in Africa, most of the wallets which are working, like M-PESA, Orange Money, MTN Money, they are all driven by telco. In some countries, the regulator didn't want the telco to go into that space, but actually, once they are allowed to do that, they are doing an amazing job because they really have the right DNA and the right cost structure to operate that.
That's interesting that you say that, because I've been watching how telcos try to get into payments. Part of it is regulation. Part of it is that payments and finance is not native to telcos. And part of it is telcos have not used the data that they are privy to, the transaction data, in the best way possible.
I can only think of one. It's true that Orange Bank in France has not been a success. But any other failure?
Well, not say failure, but it could have been more successful than it was. Actually, I'm also thinking of Singtel Dash, for example, right?
Yeah, Singtel Dash is a success. It's very successful on the remittance space. It's true that for more
generic domestic use, yeah.
But remember, in Singapore, it's very difficult to operate a wallet. People are so highly banked. Everybody has probably like 4 or 5 cards in their wallet and so on. So the having a wallet is really not a big incentive for people to switch payment behavior. And as we know, it takes a while for people to change behavior. COVID has been an amazing accelerator. I think for all the wallets, so whether it was in Saudi Arabia, in Singapore, and in Africa, COVID has been a huge driver of all those wallets.
The ability of telcos to use data, the data that they get into, what's the problem at the back end?
I think it's pretty not their fault. Is because the banking regulator is very often asking the telco to have really a Chinese wall between the telco business and the bank business. It's not that they can't they don't know how to do it. It's more like they're not allowed to do it.
Right. What's interesting is I had a conversation just a few days ago where someone suggested that the more regulation there is, the more regulators are actually allowing non-banks into the banking space. In other words, it's just a matter of time before crypto becomes a bank. Because the more you want to regulate a crypto, and like in the US, there's a proposal to treat stable coins as depository institutions. And once you do that, you actually made a stable coin into a bank. So do you see a general movement in terms of regulation, which is actually creating opportunities rather than creating silos?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see in our case the fact that we got our license here in Singapore means that now we can work with way more people than usual. So whether it's banks, payment institutions, payment service providers, they you have a license. Oh, that's different. Now we can really talk and we can have a discussion. Since we made the announcement, I've received so many calls of people who would not want to, who just say, I can't work with you, but now you're regulated. Yeah, we're more than happy with that. And so you're perfectly right.
Excellent. Okay, and now let's come down to AAA. Okay, so the burning question in my head is, how is it that you got the first license? What do you think made the difference?
I got this question very often, and the problem is that MAS would not tell you why you are given a license or not. I see two reasons for us being among the first. The first reason is that we have a business model because it's payment, it's B2B. We can do a very good KYC on the merchant, and it's fairly easy to do a KYC on a business because you have a lot of supporting documents, audited financials, a lot of indication that the business is legitimate. If you compare to the exchanges like people like Coinbase and so on, who is trying to be licensed in Singapore, here the challenge is how do you do a proper KYC on individuals? So I think that's the first point, is the fact that we have a B2B use case, e-commerce, business transactions, you have invoices, supporting documents, and so on. Second thing is I'm sitting on the boards of a couple of payment institutions in Singapore, in France, in the UK, in Saudi Arabia. So I believe there's a bit of credibility coming from us, which was reassuring compared to the pure crypto native young guys who are probably not so familiar with how to run a regulated business.
What about the fact that Singapore needed to have this payments component, especially for point of sale payments, to extend the use of cryptos? You're effectively domiciled in Singapore.
Yeah, we're headquartered in Singapore. Most of the employees are based in Singapore. All the tech is developed in-house. So we're fully Singapore.
Right, and your customers, do they include Singapore banks? Do they already use you?
No, the banks are not yet our clients. We use them as banking partner, of course. But we're having discussions. Some of the banks here are interested in potentially adding crypto as a form of payment on their acquiring business.
Okay. Who are your clients at the moment, in your business model? Here I'm constructing AAA as a business, right? And by the way, why the name AAA, which is very interesting. Let's get a full profile of AAA, and then there's some very important questions I like to put in there.
So yeah, in terms of merchants, so we have a strategy which is twofold. So we go direct to merchants, and usually the larger one. And we're going with payment gateways, payment PSPs, in order to add crypto. So typically people who are processing cards or maybe Alipay or WeChat and so on. So so that they can add crypto as a form of payment. So both a direct and an indirect channel. In the type of industry who like crypto very much are all the digital content, gaming, and things of this nature. And one of the key features they love about crypto is the fact that there's no chargeback. There's no risk of fraud. Today, when people are paying with a credit card, if the credit card was stolen, in case of a dispute, it's the merchant who are having to swallow the fraud. With crypto, this cannot happen. So that's great for that, and that's a bit how I got the idea of AAA, it was that I saw that a lot of our merchants were struggling with fraud, and when I understood crypto, I say, oh, but that's a perfect payment option for these businesses.
Yeah. Sorry, when did you get those ideas? 2016, 2013?
Yes, 2016 around, yeah.
Okay, keep going. Yeah.
And so the other type of merchants who like crypto as well are more people who are from a luxury type of merchants. We have a Swiss watch manufacturer, for instance, as one of our clients, because people who invested in crypto a few years ago, now they're really rich. And they want to be able to spend those crypto, and so that's also an interesting type of merchants.
Okay, but a lot of the technology problems in making crypto payments, especially in Bitcoin, right? And then there are specifications for each of the different cryptos, some easier than others. How do you wrap all of that in your mind, and how do you build an infrastructure that is crypto agnostic or rather product agnostic?
So yeah, obviously our goal is really to make it seamless for our merchants so that they don't have to understand all this technology and all those complexity. The way we started is by really looking at what were the mass users, because there is like zillions of coins around the world, but a lot of them are actually not might be just traded, but not really being used for a payment transaction. So the reality today is that with free cryptocurrencies, so Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT, you cover 99% of the market. And the great thing is, like I mentioned the issue with Bitcoin, which takes a bit of time. Now we have implemented Lightning, which enables to have very fast transaction and very, very, very low cost transaction. So that's why a few years ago it would not have been possible to pay something for worth $1. Now with Bitcoin Lightning, we're seeing a lot of transaction being processed like this.
Right. So when Bitcoin Lightning is that your technology, or is
no? It's
available.
It's about it's open source technology.
Just give me a sense of your balance sheet. Where do you make your money from mostly, and how much of that is actually assets that might actually sit on your balance sheet?
So first, we're not taking a position in crypto. So by definition, we are not. My business model is not impacted whether the crypto goes up or down. We automatically exchange. We're working with dozens of liquidity providers, so we don't take a crypto risk. And our fees are based on a fee that we charge to the merchant, which is way cheaper than a credit card or what PayPal is charging to merchants.
Now, could it be that you were given a license because PayPal wants to enter this, or rather is already in this business of processing payments, and it was important for Singapore, for example, to have a local player that could benchmark, could be a differentiator or a player in this whole merchant acquiring business for crypto?
It's possible. Once again, very difficult to know what MAS intentions are. But I believe that we're solving a problem in the crypto space, helping merchants to accept crypto but not touching it. So at no point in time merchants have crypto on their balance sheet. They don't take any volatility risk or anything of this nature. So we behave exactly like when they're using a PayPal or a Stripe. They're getting money on their bank account the next day.
Right. And then there is Ripple, which has got Tranglo, right, which is something similar to what you're doing, but somewhat more difficult and complex and complicated, because Ripple just keeps looking for an excuse to use its own crypto, right, which is XRP. How would you distinguish your business model from, a Ripple, a PayPal? What's unique about your business model, and your critical success factor? That's what will determine that your business will grow. And by the way, is your business cross-border now that you've got a license in one country?
Our business is cross-border, so meaning that we can enable merchants based in Singapore as well as outside of Singapore.
Okay.
And by definition, the end user, the consumer, can be anywhere in the world. So that's one of the beauty of crypto, is like you have access to 300 million people kind of around the world. So you can see crypto as a kind of an universal alternative payment method.
Right.
And anyone can get crypto, so then they can buy from you as a merchant. On Ripple, I don't think they are in my space at all. I think what they are trying to do and what they're trying to do with Tronglo is really to help on the remittance business case. So they are more into consumer to consumer transaction and working with remittance companies to enable that. So where we are more into payments, whether it's consumer payments or business payments.
So the one advantage that PayPal has over you is that they already have the platform for merchants to merchant or business to business, whereas you have to both build the platform for the merchant to merchant, as well as, in other words, you also need to have a critical mass of merchants on your platform. Do you have a critical mass? Do you think that you have the critical mass that actually exists today, or you're still building it? And when will you feel like you've become a dominant player in the merchant acquiring business for crypto?
So it's obviously still a very tiny market. The number of merchants interested in accepting crypto, and the problem is that even if you're a PayPal merchant, you're still not accepting crypto because it's only the crypto that was bought by the PayPal user and which then can be resold and instantly sent to the merchant. So it's not like you're only having the 200 million ish users of PayPal, which is great, but it's still not enable you to you don't accept crypto, because the crypto that I have, for instance, today on Coinbase, in my Coinbase account, I cannot put it on my PayPal account. So if I'm a Coinbase user, I still can't pay even on a PayPal merchant. So
right.
Yeah, we did all the. I have been very diligent at applying the lean startup model for AAA, starting with an MVP. We reached product market fit, and now we're ready to scale up. So today we have about 2,000 merchants, which is obviously just the beginning. But this is a user base which should be multiplied by 10 in the next 18 months. I'm guessing.
Right, 2,000 merchants, mostly in Singapore or just everywhere?
So we have about 50% in Asia, 30% in Europe, and 20% rest of the world.
Okay. Have you made applications for licenses of this kind in other jurisdictions? I think there's FinCEN in the US and then in Euro. Are there payments license for cryptos?
No, that's one of the big problems. It's like it's still very, very new. So you can't, we've been lucky to be in Singapore because Singapore is probably the only jurisdiction with a clear payment. Our license is merchant acquiring, money transfer, and crypto. And that really defines what we are. And you don't have things which are so well organized in other jurisdictions. So we're registered with FinCEN already, and we're looking at applying in other jurisdictions. We're hoping that European Union will have a proper regulatory framework soon, that would be ideal. Because for now, it's only a couple of countries within Europe having regulation for crypto.
No, we started this conversation by you telling me that as a payments expert, the most important ingredient of a payments infrastructure is the KYC AML component. You can track a crypto transaction. Do you think that a licensing regime is as necessary for crypto as it is for traditional payments of any kind, wholesale, retail? Or how should a licensing regime for crypto be different from traditional payments?
I think the principle shouldn't be different. At the end of the day, you need to make sure that your system cannot be used to launder money or to finance terrorism. And you're right to say that the blockchain, you can actually trace the origin of the funds, and that's what we're doing. So we have a blockchain analysis tools which is tracking directly or indirectly where the crypto are coming from. So we're able to say whether the crypto is coming from Coinbase, which is a regulated exchange in the US, doing a good KYC, while we can know that the crypto maybe is coming from dark web, from scam. It's been OFAC listed, because now OFAC is listing crypto addresses as well. And so we're able to detect and block all those transactions. We're doing an investigation on them and potentially file a suspicious transaction reports to our regulator.
Okay. In scaling that business from 2,000 merchants to 10x and so on, or 100x, have you started seeing interest coming from the countries that are legitimizing the use of crypto? Honduras, Venezuela, El Salvador, maybe even Zimbabwe. The use case for crypto is much larger than the more regulated, the more developed economies.
Obviously Salvador has been, we receive a lot of traction with that, because merchants were kind of forced to accept it because it was legal tender. We haven't so much requests from really emerging countries, but from countries which have, especially when their currency is not so strong.
So, and how do you service them? Because here you are creating infrastructure for, or point of sale infrastructure for merchants, right? So do you do it remote? Do you envisage a day when it will become device dependent maybe? Where's this point of sale infrastructure going?
So to be very frank, today really most of our transactions are e-commerce transactions, so web or mobile. POS, we have a bit of it, but it's really starting. The problem, and I know because I sold one of my company to Ingenico, which was doing terminals.
Right. If you're friends, you probably started your career.
The technology they're using in POS devices is pretty outdated, so it's very difficult to do a lot of we need things which are a bit more intelligent in order to process a crypto transaction.
So in terms of the request that you're getting, where is it coming from? Where's the bulk of the request coming from? And opportunity, gaming, maybe, so how do you think you'll take it to 10x, 100x?
As I mentioned, digital content is a big one. There's also all the IT developer tools and so on, because one of the big use case for crypto is what we're saying is that a lot of kind of gig economy in a way, independent workers, freelancers, developers, designers, and so on. Especially when they are from emerging countries, they tend to get paid in crypto, because even for their clients, if they say they send an invoice for $200, it would be cheaper to pay with crypto than to do a wire transfer.
Right.
And so these guys, they receive crypto, and that's part of their earnings, so they need to spend that. and usually they're buying, kind of professional tools, online hosting services, and so on.
And what about NFTs? Now that that's become a huge economy by itself, do you see a way in which NFTs can avoid the huge, what you call gas fees, right? In terms of transaction cost, that you would be able to solve some of the NFT, gas price, conundrum.
So we do have NFT clients who are using us as a payment system to actually for them to sell their NFTs. I think all the discussion about the gas fees and things of this nature, are going to be solved as the technology evolves and so on. There's a lot of improvements going on in the Ethereum world. Same thing for Bitcoin. I mentioned Lightning. I would say that all the designers of those solutions did not expect to have, hundreds of millions of people using them. So, they were, they were caught by surprise by those amazing successes. So it's just a matter of time to fix and to scale up this core infrastructure, but which is already very efficient, never been hacked. So it's an ecosystem which is here to stay.
Two final questions. One is, isn't your business model also susceptible to becoming overtaken by technology? That the whole payment mechanism can actually sit on a token. So it comes a day where you probably have to issue a token yourself.
I'll be disrupted one day. That's the evolution, and I'm pretty sure we will always. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur and disrupting yourself. Where I did that at Transfer 2. We started with airtime transfers. And we when we saw the emergence of mobile wallets, we knew that it would cannibalize our revenues. That's the beauty of.
No, that's what makes you a fascinating man to me, because you started with microchips and then airtime transfers, and now you are into crypto. You've just seen the whole range of payments. Final question: who's funding AAA? And as a startup yourself, how are you scaling the capitalization and the growth of your business?
I've been funding the business myself. I've been lucky enough to make good exits during my entrepreneur career. So for now, I did not raise external money.
And are you looking to raise external money at some point?
I don't necessarily need. If I were to do that, I think I will go for strategic investors, but not pure financial investors.
And when will that be? And at which point do you think you would need to do that?
Once I find the right partner or partners.
So right now, the sole funder is you?
Yeah, I started the company like Transfer 2. I started alone. And I started AAA by myself as well.
So that in itself makes it very interesting that you are the first to get this particular license, and set the stage for you. Thank you very much for speaking with me today, Eric. You gave me many insights, and which adds to how the payment part of crypto is evolving into the future. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I have 3 takeaways from this very interesting conversation with Eric Barbier, and it doesn't come from anything he said specifically. Firstly, I think I understand a little bit better as to why the Monetary Authority of Singapore gave this first crypto payments license to AAA. I always had it at the back of my mind that the Monetary Authority of Singapore tends to protect the domestic incumbent local banks and their ability to absorb all of the new technologies that are coming on stream before opening up the marketplace to the new players. In the case of AAA, I now get a sense that they don't have any of the local banks as their clients yet. However, they have new forms of competition that are hovering around in the form of global players like PayPal, who are also in this industry and in this area, who will be applying for licenses such as this in the near future. And it makes sense for the Monetary Authority of Singapore to give the first license to a known quantity that operates in the local ecosystem before understanding all of the issues and then opening up to other players. Okay, so that's one thought I would like your comments on. The second point is, of course, that from the sense I get from Eric is that the growth opportunity and the development of infrastructure in crypto may well come from the countries that are embracing crypto much more inclusively than the more developed economies. So countries like Venezuela, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and in Africa you have Zimbabwe, which are far more receptive, and there's a greater demand. That's where you will find more of the infrastructure for crypto to become commonplace be put together. The third point that I thought I took away from this conversation is that I'm just totally blown over by the fact that Eric has said that he is not looking for funding just now, given the fact that many of his competitors in the future will be from the bigger global players who will bear down on him. And that is the spirit of an entrepreneur, and it'll be amazing to watch how his business evolves. Tell me what you think. Give me your feedback in the platform on which you're watching this video, and let's learn together.